Someday we'll get paid for this.
Folks, it's time for Piggie of the Week. A roll call of the 5 biggest hypocrites to vote against Sandy relief. After delaying for 2 months, last Friday, the House of Representatives finally voted to greenlight nearly $10 billion in Superstorm Sandy relief funds, the first installment of a $60 billion relief package. And not a moment too soon. The fund, the primary disburser of federal money to individual disaster victims, is $20 billion in the hole. Only 35,000 of the 140,000 Sandy-related claims had been processed, leaving 105,000 families out in the cold. Many of the 35,000 approvals have only received partial payments on their claims. Now, you would think that the House vote would have been unanimous, like the Senate was the week before. Yet, the final tally was 354 to 67. And all the no votes came from, wait for it, Republicans. This puts the lie to the old saying, a small government conservative is just a big government liberal who hasn't had the shit kicked out of his state by a hurricane, tornado, or flood. Out of the 67 House Republicans that turned their back on disaster victims, there are at least 5 that deserve dishonorable mention for their cutthroat partisanship, shameless hypocrisy, and an appalling disregard for the abject suffering of tens of thousands of Americans. They are, in no particular order, Representative Paul Ryan, Republican, Wisconsin. In a statement explaining his no vote, the would-be vice president insisted he could not bring himself to vote for a package larded with wasteful pork, including funding for commercial fisheries and roof repair for museums. But those projects weren't in the final version of the bill. Ryan didn't know that because he's either lying or voting against legislation he hasn't read, in which case he's incompetent. 2. Representative Kenny Merchant, a Republican from Texas. Back in 2005, Merchant gladly voted yes on $51.8 billion in emergency funds for Katrina relief. He also voted to temporarily increase FEMA's borrowing authority, which, minus $40 billion, is exactly the same measure he voted against on Friday. Unlike Katrina, there are no Sandy victim intake centers in his district, so fuck him. Number 3, Joe "You Lie" Wilson, a Republican from South Carolina. Wilson and 2 other Tea Party asshats from South Carolina voted fuck no, despite the fact that South Carolina has had 13 major disaster declarations and 2 emergency declarations in the last 30 years. When Hurricane Hugo hit back in 1989, it caused over $13 billion in damage and left nearly 60,000 people homeless. In 2005, Wilson voted for a $10.5 billion Katrina relief package. When South Carolina suffered through a severe drought in 2009, all 46 counties in the state were declared federal disaster zones at Wilson's urging. Guess who picked up the tab? But that was then, and this is now. Representative Louis Gomer, a Republican from Texas. It's curious that Gomer has become such a disaster relief hard-ass in the past 4 years. Back in 2008, after Hurricane Ike, the feds couldn't spend enough on Gomer's constituents, and Gomer gorged at the public trough, urging FEMA to widen the number of counties in his district that qualified for relief. Since Representative Gomer seems to know his way around a FEMA application, I encourage everyone in New York and New Jersey to call his office for assistance. Or maybe you just want to thank him for nothing. His number, 202-225-3035. Number 5, Representative Doug Collins, a Republican from Georgia. Doug Collins voted to sandbag Superstorm Sandy relief. This from a man who serves as a chaplain in the Air Force. Perhaps he should reread his Bible before the next Sandy relief bill comes up for a vote. Specifically John 3:17 and 18. If anyone has material possessions and sees his brother in need but has no pity on him, how can the love of God be in him? Let us not love with words or tongue, but with actions. Maybe he could share some of those Jesus thoughts with his fellow House Republicans who had the courage of their convictions to say no to 140,000 families in their hour of need. Congratulations to the House Republicans. You are our piggies of the week. If we ruled the world, your homes would be leveled, flattened, and flooded by every natural disaster known to humanity. Then we'd deny you so much as a cardboard box to sleep in. I'm A.P. Ticker. Happy New Year.